Hi, I'm Su-Hie. I'd like to share with you our paper on Bidayuh parentage and use of Bidayuh language. My colleague who is with me in this paper is Dr. Florence Kayat, who is a Bidayuh herself. Here is the abstract of our paper, and from this paper, we will show you that intermarriages, rural-urban migration, and higher education create conditions for a decreased role for the Bidayuh language among the Bidayuh people. And who are they? Well, the Bidayuh are the second largest indigenous group in Sarawak and accounts for 8% of the state population. They mostly live in the Bidayuh belt, that is in the Kuching and Serian districts of Sarawak. And there are 6 dialects of the Bidayuh with a lot of variations. So it is very difficult for the Bidayuh language to have a written language. Why is there a need to focus on Bidayuh parentage and Bidayuh language use? We know that there is language shift happening among many languages, and as mixed marriages has been identified as a factor that hastens the language shift among the Iban in Sarawak, Indians in Malaysia, and groups in Aceh and Nigeria. The thing is, over the years, in Malaysia, statistics show that there is an increase in mixed marriages, especially involving women from minority groups. So what this means is that there will be more children with partial Bidayuh parentage. And if we compare the language use of Bidayuh with full and partial Bidayuh parentage, we will be able to understand how the parentage influence ethnic language use. Our study examines the use of Bidayuh language by the Bidayuh people with full and partial Bidayuh parentage. And there are 3 specific aspects we examine: the Bidayuh usage in everyday life, the proficiency in Bidayuh, and perception of effective ways to pass on Bidayuh to the young people. Full and half parentage is based on the participants' own definition in this study. This is the method of our study. The data came from 245 Bidayuh participants. We have balanced gender distribution, but most of them are in their 30s and 40s and highly educated. Since we are interested in half and a full Bidayuh parentage, let's look at the mixed marriage conditions. 20.8% of the participants are half Bidayuh and 79.2% are pure Bidayuh. And if we look at the 55.1% of the Bidayuh participants who are married, only 53.1% have Bidayuh spouse. The other 47% are married to other ethnic groups, and this will produce more children with partial Bidayuh parentage. We've come to the results of the study. Result number 1, Bidayuh as first language. In the questionnaire, we asked them, which language did you first speak as a child? Among the half Bidayuh participants, only 41.2% said yes to Bidayuh, but among the full Bidayuh participants, 88.7% said they learned Bidayuh as a first language. As for whether they learn Bidayuh in play school or kindergarten, the number is small, but it's slightly higher among the half Bidayuh participants. Perhaps because they thought that this is a way for them to learn their ethnic language if they didn't learn it at home. Next, second result, use of Bidayuh. In the questionnaire, we asked them, this week, how often have you spoken Bidayuh? Any variety? Among the half Bidayuh participants, 31.4% actually said they have not spoken any Bidayuh at all this week. And 39.2% speaks Bidayuh almost every day. But the percentage of those who speak Bidayuh almost every day is very high among the full Bidayuh participants. That is 74.2%. So here you can see a marked difference between the daily usage of the ethnic language by participants with full and half Bidayuh parentage. Third result on Bidayuh proficiency. We wanted to find out how proficient they are in the oral and written skills in Bidayuh. You can see that among the Half Bidayuh participants, the best skill is understanding conversations in Bidayuh. A mean score of 2.8 is just less than the midpoint of 3, which means it's slightly below average proficiency in understanding a conversation in Bidayuh. But the full Bidayuh participants have slightly above average ability to understand a conversation in Bidayuh. And they can also read books and articles in Bidayuh. But for both groups, regardless of whether it is full or partial parentage, the ability to speak Bidayuh and to write things in Bidayuh are low. Fourth result on Malay and English proficiency. We just wanted to compare the Bidayuh proficiency with other standard languages. And we found that the two groups are similar and they have good proficiency in Malay and English, which suggests that these languages could be competing for space in daily language use. Finally, results on ways to pass on Bidayuh. This is where the participants with full and half Bidayuh parentage slightly differ in what they consider as the most effective way to pass on the language. For the half Bidayuh participants, they believe in having community activities on Bidayuh culture and language, 37.2%. But among the full Bidayuh participants, they believe the best way is to speak Bidayuh with family, 32.5%. About 20% in both groups believe that it is good to teach Bidayuh in school. But it is a long journey to have Bidayuh as a school subject. Why? Well, there is dialectal variation, great dialectal variation in Bidayuh, which makes it very difficult to standardize the language and have a written language. And there must also be demand for the subject to be offered as a subject in school. At least 10 parents must request it. So with all these factors, it is a long journey to having Bidayuh as a school subject. And here I show you the ways, other ways to pass on Bidayuh, which the participants do not consider to be that effective. Having more printed materials in Bidayuh, having TV and radio programs in Bidayuh, and also writing of social media messages in Bidayuh. Of all these, the one that they themselves can do is writing of social media messages. And I believe that this is good to keep the language actively used in daily life, but not so many participants believe that this is an effective way. Finally, in conclusion, our study shows that Bidayuh parentage certainly influenced Bidayuh use and proficiency, and their beliefs in effective intergenerational transmission strategies. We also found that intermarriages lead to a decreased role of Bidayuh among the highly educated Bidayuh in urban areas. Based on the findings of Bidayuh and other indigenous and minority languages, language shift is almost a given. And sometimes there is the assumption that if there are positive attitudes, then there will be frequent use of the ethnic language. But studies in Sarawak have shown that there is no significant correlation between these two. And the meaning of this is this. It means that when we have community activities that promote Bidayuh culture and language, not necessarily that the young people will be interested. And even if they attend the events, it doesn't necessarily translate to more frequent use of Bidayuh in daily life. However, what the study has shown is that full or half Bidayuh parentage due to intermarriage influences language use. Of course, this is also an expected finding, but among the Bidayuh with half Bidayuh parentage, some actually exhibit language use patterns that are like those with full Bidayuh parentage. And this is an area for further investigation, especially in their personal context, to discover the magic factors at work. Thank you.